Dude, that's not even bad. There's snow outside right now, dude.
What?
Yeah,
No,
we
thank you. That's too early for that stuff.
dude, it started snowing here last night, and then um up the road where our friends live, they're like, we got 6 to 7 inches of snow.
Damn, dude.
Yeah,
Where you at?
South Dakota.
Oh shit, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. So,
Dude, that sucks. That's too early for snow for me.
oh, dude, for real. But like, kind of the nice thing is like by tomorrow it should be all melted off because
Oh, okay.
it's gonna get warmer again. It's gonna be in like the 50s again.
Oh, okay. All right, so that's not so bad.
No, it's not terrible then. But so
It
I
still
have
sucks that it's cold enough.
yeah. Um, well, none of our lakes are freezing right now, so it's still all open water. So I was
Nice.
the place I wanted to fish at tomorrow though and go after lake trout. I don't know if I'll be able to get to it if the snow doesn't melt.
Oh shit. Well, hopefully it melts away.
Oh, dude, I'm hoping so because, like, this has been it's like going after lake trout with swim baits has been like up there on my bucket list for a bit now. So I'm trying to get after it.
I just saw that Daniel from Clickbait, he just
Hmm.
stuck a really nice lake trout on his new WRK glide or whatever he calls it.
Yeah, dude,
Like,
that's
dang, dude, that'd be a blast to go out there and do that.
dude, that's that bait is super sick. I don't. I'm I got a finesse shad that I'll probably be throwing, and then I got a TK that I painted in a rainbow trout pattern that I'll be throwing, and then
Hell yeah.
some like a 68 HUD and um I don't know try with that. It's a little bit smaller baits like swim baits.
Yes.
Um,
6 inch and under.
mm-hmm. Cause I've stuck some rainbow trout on a depths 115 and that's really cool.
Yeah. Yes, dude. We have some pretty big rainbows out here. Of course, we have a bunch of steelhead too. And man, it was like 5 inch baits that are kind of just erratic and just dart back for like a jerk bait style one. Man, they get crushed up here on giants.
Mm.
But I just haven't gone out there and targeted them.
Yeah, so like I do this Airbnb experience where I take people out fishing. Like normally it's during the summer when uh, it's more like tourist season, and we're like using some bigger, because a lot of people like target rainbow trout with flies, stuff like that. But like we're going after
Yeah.
trout with like some like finesse paddle tails and stuff like that, and they're like, "Oh, trout eat this?" I'm like, "Heck yeah, trout will eat this!" Like,
Yeah.
and then I'm
Yeah. Fish eat fish.
yeah, then I'm like throwing at depths 115. They're like, "A trout will eat that," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's not as often, but they will."
Yeah. That'd be rad to go out there and do that, man. My son stuck a pretty good lake trout up when we were out in Idaho, my brother's house. He just cast off the back of the boat, and like as we were trying to pull up to this island, I was like, "I'll hold up, buddy. We're gonna so we can this corner." So as he starts reeling it in, all of a sudden it just, I thought he got stuck there for a second, and then ended up just being a giant lake trout. It was pretty badass. We didn't weigh it or measure it or anything, but had have been in like five pound range. Thing was huge.
Dude, that's sick. So you're out in Washington. So what's the fishing like near
Yep.
you?
It's not too bad. I mean, obviously, we got everything up here is mainly tailored towards like salmons and steelhead, just for the nature. I mean, we got world-renowned fisheries out here for them. So, but as far as the bass fishing go, man, like the smallmouth is probably where it's at. We just have giants out here. Like 6 pounders are pretty common out here. Um, and then of course largies are a little bit more tougher. They don't like the cooler water as much as the smallies do. So that's why that northern strain, man, they just get giant. They're just short and fat.
Mm-hmm.
So, like lately, I've been catching caught a few 7 pounders. Man, they're like 22 inches and just probably just as wide.
Yeah.
22-inch girth on them too.
Just footballs.
Yeah, dude, just massive football. The last the last 7 pounder I just caught was probably the fattest fish I've ever caught. Just the belly just stuck way out like Santa Claus, dude. It was awesome.
Man, we're kind of in the same boat in South Dakota, like here in the Midwest. Like our bass don't get huge, but we got like super great smallmouth fisheries in the state, and there's like a couple dudes that have walleye on swim baits figured out,
Yeah,
and then we got pike too. So that's kind can be fun, and
yeah,
then you can stick trout on swim baits if you're persistent.
yeah. We got some tiger muskies out here too that they stock. Uh, one of them's like one of my favorite smallmouth lakes, and because they put tigers in there, I was like, man, there's not smallmouth in here's got stuff. And we went fishing it like 2, 3 summers ago. That's long ago now, like 4 or 5 summers ago now. And we started catching like fours and fives out of it. Like, holy shit, okay, so there is some big fish in here. And then we started seeing, like, my buddy got live scope, started going out there and seeing just absolute blobs down there. We haven't caught anything over 6 yet, but I know they're in there. They're just too smart. And that water is also like, it can get up to like 20-foot visibility too. So,
Yeah, like probably like one of the best smallmouth fisheries out here is Lake Oahe, and the Elite Series goes through I don't know every couple of years because it's going to be a smallmouth fishery for them with like some largemouth in there, but our state record smallmouth is caught out of there. I can't remember how
hell yeah.
big it
What's your
is.
guys' state record?
So our state record smallmouth, uh, 7 pounds, about 5 ounces out of Lake Oahe.
Dang.
Yeah, it's a pretty big one. And then our largemouth is kind of crazy for up here. It's 9 pounds and something.
Damn.
Yeah, dude. There's this kid though. Um, at one of my local lakes growing up. He was at an ice fishing tournament a couple years ago, and he caught a 9 pound largemouth, a couple ounces short of the state record.
Oh,
Nine
shit.
pound largemouth on a tip up.
Oh, shit.
I know, dude. The thing is just it's short and it's fat. It is crazy
Yeah.
looking.
Yeah, do you guys have northerns up there? Or out there? I'm sure they are.
Yeah. We got pike out here, and there's a lot of there's a lot of good lakes around me that have trout in them, and then those pike get really big just eating on trout.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah, that's how that lake I was just talking about, that's how that is. Just it's naturally fed with the river systems that have steelhead in them. So all the steelhead are just glorified rainbows really, but man, those tiger muskies gorge on those things, especially during they throw all those trout in there. Man, you'll see those 4 footers swimming around by the docks and everything right where they drop all the trouts in. It's pretty awesome. I need to go out and spend more time targeting those things, man. They're fun.
yeah. Last month I went out one of the few days I got to go out fishing, and I was throwing a 6 inch, or not a 6 inch. I was throwing a 6 cents draw, the 9 inch one, and I painted
Yeah.
it in a rainbow trout pattern. And I threw it out there, gave it some long glides, and I was letting it sit there, and I just got this massive blow up on it. I was like, oh my god, this is like a huge fish. I start cranking it in. I'm like, oh, not a huge fish. And I get it close, and it's like a 16-inch pike. That
Oh, it just went berserk on it.
yeah, just like T-boned this that 9 inch
That
bait.
draw.
Yeah,
That's funny.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah, those
was
things are pretty aggressive, man. They're fun. They're fun to target if you just want to go do it.
I was like I was super excited at first because like there's good bass in that lake, and there's like big trout, big bass, and there's huge pike in there. Like I moved last year, I moved a 40-inch pike with the bait, and so I was like very hopeful for this trip last month, and then it was just a little dinky pike and caught a couple
Yeah.
dinky bass.
Damn. Yeah, we always end up catching the tigers just on bycatches from out there bass fishing. You most of the time you get them to bite right next to the boat a lot. You come up, you do a figure eight with a big glide or whatever you're throwing, and they usually just come unglued. But I haven't actually gone out and just targeted them, specifically before. But there's a couple guys out here that are really good at it. One of them actually lives on that lake, and I've sent him messages before. It's like, dude, you got to take me out. Like, you got to put me on one of these giant tigers. But, like my son caught one on a Ned rig. Uh, it had to have been pushing 40, 45 inches or so. It was a beast. I don't know how much it weighed. We didn't have a scale for it. Been in 20-pound range, dude. The thing was just massive. Beautiful colors on it too, though.
Yeah, those tiger muskies are sweet. We really don't like out here in South Dakota. There's like a couple lakes that will stock muskies in them, and there's one lake near me that at one point they had a stocking program for tiger muskies, but it seems like you there's not a lot in there at this point, and they're really hard to catch.
Yeah, yep. The fish of 10,000 casts, man. They take a lot of patience to go out there and target them, man.
What?
But once you get one hooked up, it was all worth it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And um, I don't know. There's just like some crazy spots out here where there's just like big fish. Like I was at this local pond in the next town over, and it was really early spring, had just iced out, and there was these massive pike, just like super shallow, and I threw the draw, and that kind of spooked them off. Even just like wide gliding it real slow, they just didn't want anything to do with it. And then I was like, all right, I'll give them a break. I kept fishing around the pond, and I came back around, and I tied on a 6-inch HUD and just like cast it out, and I just had it sitting just right in front of their nose. Like
Yeah,
literally, here's my bait, here's them, and they went up and nosed it, and just
yeah,
nothing. They were not eating at all.
damn. And it sucks to see him that like visually see him do that. And you're like, just bite it, dude. Like you're right there. I know you want to.
Mm-hmm. Oh man. Well, let's shit. We kind of got like bullshit in there for a little bit. What's
Yeah,
like introduce yourself. Like tell the people what you do.
yeah. So Austin Brown, that's the name. We run Sensei Swimbaits. I got a buddy Ian Rourke. He's my right hand man in the business too. So he helps me pour a lot of the blanks and stuff over at his house, and then we just swap out. I come through and paint him. But yeah, we started about almost 2 years ago, coming up on 2 years in a couple months, and started off with our bluegill. I should have had some baits ready so I could show you guys. Uh, got a couple like ready for clear or for base coats and whatnot, so they're already kind of filled in and fillered and whatnot. But this is what it started off. And man, it was all just like an idea on a piece of paper, right? It's like how all of us start out. It seems like. But I just started carving it right there in my kitchen, man, and then I wasn't really at the time wasn't really worried about selling them. We have a lot of bluegill eaters up here, and I really wanted to target some like the bigger smallmouth. So I built that one in hopes to go out there and just start crushing on smallies. And it actually was funny because that's actually not what ended up happening. We stuck way more largemouth on it. And then the glide, once we came out with that, that's when we started picking up a lot of the big smallies. Um, just like a big perch profile. It's not really that big. It's just like a 7-inch perch profile.
Mhm.
Um, and they're only like 2.5 ounces. Most of my baits are actually pretty lightweight, so you don't really need like major dedicated rods or anything for them. I threw them on a flipping stick or something like that, like a punch stick for I don't know, probably 6 months to a year before I actually bought a dedicated swim bait rod that was like custom built for these. So,
Mhm.
um, but yeah, and then we're based out of Washington. I think we went over that, but yeah, man, that's just what we do up here. We just build baits and then uh, fish for giants is really all we do.
Heck yeah, dude. And your guys' baits are pretty cool. I think I think your guys' crawler bait is super sick.
Yeah, and it was kind of funny, man, because so Ian, when he and I first talked about it, it was an idea he had had for probably a decade, and he was like, "Man, like if you're gonna allow me to build bait and like kind of put it in your name with Sensei Swimbaits, because this is back when like our friendship and everything was still new too and everything." So I was like, "Yeah, like if you come up with something pretty, like, if it looks pretty cool and I could finalize the design or something on it, then like, yeah, dude, let's do it. Like, what are you thinking of first of all?" He's like, "How about a frog crawler?" I was like, that actually does sound pretty badass. So we did research. There's only like two companies, and they're like out in Japan that make an actual frog crawler,
Mhm.
and they look quite a bit different than ours do. But there's like nobody in the United States that had any, so we're like, dude, let's try it. And then we just slowly revised it, of course, as we once we first made the wood version, and then we started taking molds of that and then just revising off of that. But it turned out so sick, man. Like that's probably our, at least as far as I'm concerned, that the bait I'm probably most happy with, just because it was like instant production on big fish. Like I went out there and caught it. My personal best on it was at 787, and then we had another buddy that was on a tear with it. He did like, caught a seven. I think he caught a couple sixes or maybe one six, an 870. Like, dude, the bait just started working. So that was pretty cool to see.
No, and it's like it's a sweet bait too. And I don't know what it is about like okay, so like my first like love with throwing baits like bass fishing is throwing a frog. So just like
Yes.
I don't know, I gravitate towards that bait. It just looks so cool, and then like I don't know, with frog patterns you can do like some pretty cool stuff. I feel like yeah, like that's pretty
Oh yeah.
sick.
Yeah, like the fire bellies.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's like we're gonna start stepping into like some of the poison dart frogs and stuff here soon too, paint patterns.
Mhm.
But but yeah, man, that's kind of what got me the most excited about bass fishing when I was like had it been like 5, 6, something like that. I was out fishing off a dock for some bluegill. And I was watching this guy fish with a frog and just watching this thing get blown out of through the pads. I think my headphone just warned me that the battery's low. If it cuts out, I got another one.
All right.
But yeah, I was on a frog, so I was like, okay, so that was one of my first lures ever was a popping frog. So brings it all full circle, and then once I find out some figuring out some of the techniques like the crawlers, and then now you're gonna mix the two together. It's like best of both worlds, man.
Heck yeah, dude. Like one of my favorite like nights of fishing was me and my buddy, and we were at one of our local lakes. It was like evening, summer, and we were just like getting blown up almost every cast, like top water. But here we are, like still new to fishing, and we're throwing like frogs on like an ugly stick,
Yeah.
and just like just like pretty new, not really knowing a whole lot, and we were missing a ton of fish, but like, and the fish we did catch, they're like maybe a pound. We didn't catch anything like super big, but it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, when they're tearing up top water, man, my buddy and I went out and we were throwing some spooks, just regular. I think I was throwing the 6 cents catwalk, and hell, he might have had the same one, honestly. But anyways, man, we went out there and tore them up, but they were all, smallmouth and anywhere from like 6 inches to maybe a foot long. And some of them were, the 2, 3, 4 pound range. But we probably caught 50 to 100 fish each that day. But they were all small, but it was still a damn blast.
Hmm.
Like nothing better than topwater blow-ups, dude. I don't care how small or how big they are.
Yeah, that's why I was like, last month when I had that blow up on the draw, I was like super excited, and like I was excited to catch that fish. But like once you realize it's kind of not the caliber of fish you're after, this is like a little
Yeah,
disappointing. And then
yeah, absolutely.
oh, this is like a dinky pike too with these huge trebles in its face. Luckily, it just shook the bait like right at shore. Didn't have to put it in my net. Didn't have to like do anything like that. So
Quick release,
yeah,
perfect.
dude.
Yeah, those things are slimy, and then on top of that, them teeth, man. If they get you, I had when my son when he caught that one giant, I had reached through the gill plate, and my finger went all the way in and grabbed one of the tooth, and man, it just sliced me from the center knuckle all the way to just instant. I almost didn't feel it. It was so damn sharp,
Mm-hmm.
but starts bleeding everywhere, and then it gets all infected.
Oh man. Um. So like, how'd you get like started in throwing swim baits and stuff like that then?
Uh, I think starting off, I think I saw someone throwing a. So we have a couple guys here locally that are just hammers when it comes to the big baits, and they're not like exclusively big baits. Like they'll throw jigs, and like when we go out for smallies, they'll throw drop shot stuff. But they're pretty dang hard. They're pretty hardcore when it comes to this stuff. So I saw one of them catch I think it was like a 7 or 8 pounder on a TK. And I was like, man, I got to see what this big bait thing's about. So I ended up buying a TK, toxic baits. I bought like 3 or 4 of the toxic baits, um, just because those ones were a lot more affordable compared to like some of the other builders out there. So I was like, well, let me try some of the bluegill patterns, and then that kind of 6 inch trout stalker style, which is like the perfect size, like TKs. Um, then it exploded once I got my first bite on the TK. I was like, okay, I get it. I understand why people throw big baits. Um, and that's kind of what started it, was just watching some of the guys around here throwing them and actually use and have success using them. But and that was the one thing I tried not to do too much, was like this guy's using the TK. I'm gonna go get the TK now, or like, oh, this guy catches giants with the weight hog. Like I'm gonna go buy all the weight hogs, because that's how it kind of is. Like some of these guys are so focused on like a specific. Like we have one guy, my buddy Dan. Like dude, he's a toxic guy. You'll see him post all the time, like toxic bait stuff, and he has a couple of weight hogs that are torn up. They've been fixed like 3 or 4 times. Like they just need to be retired. but but yeah, man, it was all just derived from some of the other guys in the area. They all the guys that were throwing big baits and actually having success.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, like when I'm out on the water and someone's like, "Oh, like what are they hitting on?" I'll kind of give them a generalized answer. I'm like, "Oh, like bait fish imitations or like bluegill looking like baits and stuff like that," because I'm like, well, I was like, this is what they're doing for me. Like
Hmm.
this is the bite that I found. I don't know if my bite's gonna work for you. So I don't know.
Yeah.
People fish
Yeah.
differently.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I get off the water sometimes too, and someone's at the dock, they're just about to launch something, like, oh, what you guys catch any? We're like, of course, yeah, we caught a couple, or whatever. We'll always ask them to, like, depends on what you're going for. We're going for bass, and then we show them the baits we're throwing them. You always get the same response from everybody that's never seen the swim bait. It's like, oh, what are you trying to catch? A whale? It's like, well, yeah, actually, like, if I could, but yeah, I try to just say like, hey, we have big baits, small baits, or finesse or something like that. Like trying to get too detailed with them, but I
Yeah.
do show them my baits.
Okay.
I'm a lot of times too. I give baits away at the dock. Like, yeah, dude, like we're catching them on this little blue. Like, here, you got a big enough rod? Like, here, take this. Go throw this around.
No,
Like, and I've even
exactly.
done. Go ahead.
Well, okay, so like if you think about it, like I don't know, like a bass or a fish, they don't know how big they are. So
Right.
like you can catch little fish on, big bluegill profile baits. Like I was throwing a gantarelle and I had like a 12-inch bass, like just destroy it.
Yeah.
And
Well, and
that's
if you
that's
look
like a
at the, I
perfect
mean,
size too.
it's really not much longer. Like if you look at it from the bottom, dude, that's like a 4.8 Kitech. Like
Yeah.
it's this profile here is not so bad. This profile is always what gets everybody. Like, oh, it's tall. It's bigger this way. I'm like, yeah, I'm just that's two Kitechs now. Like it's not that big of a bait, but people always think there. It's always this preconceived idea or something that like, oh, it's just a big bait, big fish. It's like, nope, not always the case, man. I've catch fish on that thing all the time that are, I think sometimes are smaller than the bait, like
Yeah.
crazy ass fish.
Yeah, exactly. It's like some of my smallest smallest fish that I caught last year. I haven't gotten to bass fish like much this year. It's like two of the smallest bass that I caught last year were on a gantarelle and then a TK. And and then my it's like my biggest fish last year though was on uh, a Savage Gear pulse tail trout.
Nice.
So yeah, there's this whole spectrum because I don't know. I feel like those little bass too can get really aggressive around bluegill.
Oh, dude, they get fired up. Yeah,
Mhm.
especially during the summertime and like springtime when everything is up shallow. Oh man, it can almost get annoying with the small fish, the small bass, dude. I'm like, because they'll eat that candy gill all the time. We call it our Sensei Senko, just because, dude, it catches so many fish like a Senko would. Um,
Well, yeah,
but yeah,
that's
those little guys just don't leave it alone.
well, and like your bluegill bait, like that's just a perfect size too. That's like a perfect snack size, and a lot of fish could like fit that in their mouth.
Yeah, and that's what when we started cutting that one out and designing it, I was like, I didn't want to go too big. For if you start losing confidence, then you stop having fun, and then you stop building baits. So I was like, let's go with something that's like it's gonna be big enough for pretty much anything to want to eat this. And that guy, like I said, I was focused more on the smallmouth, hopefully trying to eat it, and I was considering the size of their mouths compared to a largie. But once we started going for larges, I'm like, dude, a 2 pound smallmouth can fit this entire bait in its mouth, no problem. So yeah, it's kind of just big enough to get their attention, like the big one's attention, but it's also small enough to not like deter them from going, okay, that's probably too big. I don't want to waste my energy on trying to chase that thing down. Like,
Hmm.
seems to be that perfect size to just get bit, like confidence booster bait.
Yeah, exactly. And then your height profile isn't like too big to where they can't get that into their mouth.
Yes, one thing we were worried about was the height on the profile of the back, but because of it being more of a wake, and I have a couple versions. I have the wake and then the crank down. So the crank down only gets down 4 foot, 3 to 4 foot, and then the wake you can either wake it or it gets down to about a foot if you really wanted to get it going. And we were concerned about the height of it, but they eat it from like the bottom angles, right? So most of the time, and it doesn't roll a lot, so the hooks always stay down, and it always seemed to get eaten from the belly. So even on the crank downs, sometimes they just eat it head first, coming straight out, and then they just dead stop you. But it hasn't been an issue for us as far as hookup ratios or anything. So we just kept the design the way it was. That's literally the very first carving I ever did is still the same one we use. Like we don't have none of ours are 3D catted or none of them have any kind of work scanning or anything done to them. They're all from original carvings.
That's epic, dude. So like what hooks do you recommend for your bluegill bait?
So those ones we run ST36s on
Mhm.
them, size twos, and then we have gone up to size one before. Like say if you wanted to like crank it down even further, throw some heavy ones on there, or want to stay in the same size range using the Gamakatsu round bends because they're a 2X. So they're just a touch heavier. So you can get like the crank downs to go an extra foot or something if you upsize them. But the size 2 owner ST36s are go-tos.
Mm-hmm. Are you throwing that on like 15-pound fluoro, or what do you guys like to use?
You can go down to 15. I just run everything on 20, just so I don't have all these different lines of rods. I just stick everything on 20. I'm about to switch over to 17 though, um, and see how I can do. See if the actions and everything are still the same. But most people run, yeah, anywhere from 17 to 20 with ours. But you can run the gills with 15, no problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I got a Gracely finesse gill and then the finesse shat, and
Yeah,
it's I think they're a little bit over an ounce, and I was throwing them on my swim bait rod, which is like an ounce to 4 ounce rated, and I was like, this isn't doing it for me, and so I started
yeah,
throwing those baits on like my jerk bait crankbait rod, which is
yeah,
a 7 foot medium with 12-pound fluoro. And I was like, they're a little heavy for the rod, but that rod just works those baits really good.
yep. I was doing the same thing. I was running mine with it was like my 7.9 medium heavy, and I think it was rated same thing, 1 to 4 ounces, 1 to 5, or 1.5 to 5, or something like that. But it was just too much rod for it, right? So I stepped it down to a 7 foot medium heavy, and I think that's the one. I throw like a lot of square bills and stuff on that rod, but it's got enough parabolic bend in it, so it's like it handles those like because I have the same thing. I have the finesse shat and the finesse gill, and man, you can get those things. Just first of all, you can launch the hell out of them with the 7 foot medium heavy still, and then you can feel every bit of the action of the bait as you're working it. Some of those big swim bait rods, you lose all the feeling in it because it's just so big.
Yeah, it's kind of if I'm throwing like a swim bait like most of the day, and then I switch to one of my conventional rods, I'm like, holy smokes! I was like,
Yeah.
and it's not like I built my swim bait rod, and it's not like it's super heavy or anything, but there's just a noticeable difference between chucking like even if you're throwing like a TK, and then you like
Yeah.
go and like start flipping a jig or like working a jerk bait. It's crazy how, dude. The craziest is like when you go from like throwing a swim bait and then you like pick up a BFS rod.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. My favorite's going because I'm the type because I still fish conventional. I fish a lot of conventional. Um, I just I'm not. I love swim baits and I love being like hardcore about it when I want to, but I'm also not scared. Like I'll pick up drop shots and Ned rigs, man. Like especially for the big smallmouth, that they love them. So I'll go. That's what it takes to catch them. I'll go do it. But yeah, you go from a big swim bait to a drop shot or something like that, dude. It's just like you forget how to catch, and it's super light. You're trying to bomb this, little tiny Ned rig way out there. Yeah, it's a, it's a, I forgot what I was gonna say, but yeah, it's just switching around is just it gets to your mental portion of it.
Yeah. And the thing is like because I will throw a lot of swim baits, but then I like throw conventional, and really got into BFS this year, especially for trout fishing. And when when I was fishing last month, and I was throwing swim baits and throwing glide baits and throwing like slow rolling HUDs as well. I just wasn't getting follows, and I wasn't getting like any hits or anything. And I was throwing around a spinnerbait as well. And when I finally did see a follow, it's like these little bass were like following my spinnerbait, but wouldn't commit to a spinnerbait. So I was like, all right, this moving baits aren't working, and I slowed it down, and I was throwing a G crack bellows gill, and finally got a couple
Yeah.
dinky bass.
Dude, I need to throw those bellow gills, man. There's a lot of guys that do really well on them, and I mean it's a perfect profile, especially I mean we got a ton of gill eaters up here, so a nice wide flat profile, Texas rig or something like that.
Yeah,
How do you fish it? You
when I was fishing it last month, I was fishing it just real slow, and I was fishing it weightless Texas rig.
Yeah,
So
that's what I was curious if you put a weight in it or weight on it or not.
yeah, I was throwing it weightless then, um, but typically I'd throw it with like a maybe a 1/8
Yeah,
tungsten
16th and
worm
8th ounce.
weight. Yeah, like nothing like just like a little tungsten weight just to like get it to fall a little faster because they like weightless they fall really real slow.
Dude, yeah, yeah. I imagine with all those the bellows on it, that it's catching a lot of water and slowing it off. It's big, wide, flat profile. So
Yeah, one of my favorite creature baits is missile baits D bomb.
debombing.
Yeah, so I like all those like flaps on the body, whatever. So when I see like
Yep.
the bellows gill, and I want to try all those other G crack baits. Those look like super sweet, but
Yeah. I did really well one year. I got them. I don't know how I ended up with them. Got them for free somehow. But the bellow sticks.
hmm
Um, I did really well with those one time. Like I said, I got a pack for free or something like that, and tossed them out there and was just getting smoked left and right, both smallies and largies. So I can only imagine. I mean, and you're like the homeless fisherman, like see you're wearing his beanie.
yeah.
That guy, that guy crushes them on anything G crack makes, man.
Oh, dude, for sure. And that's why I'm like, and that was partially the reason I got the bellows gill, and I even got like not the biggest size, which I think like the biggest size is like 5 inch. I
Yeah,
got like the 3.8, and yeah, that was getting munched, and that's it's like a pretty decent sized chunk of plastic there.
yeah, it's still got a white profile to it.
hmm
Yeah, I need to get some of those. I want to try those really bad. Cause like the gillies,
hmm
the Berkeley gillies, whatever. People do well with those up here too, and I've seen people like drop shot them even like down to their small ones. Last couple years have been pretty dedicated into big baits.
Yeah, I got a couple of gillies, but I don't know. When I started throwing swim baits, a lot of my soft plastic game has like
Dwindled way down.
yeah, because it's like the few chances I do get to like go out and go fish, it's like wow, want to throw some swim baits, and
Yep.
if I'm not bass fishing, then I'm like taking people out trout fishing or any of my buddies that
Right.
come up, they want to go trout fishing. So I'm like, all right, well, we're throwing BFS. But dude, there's some sweet
Yeah.
little BFS glides out there.
Yeah, man. I always forget the guy's name, but he's making some really cool ones. Oh yeah, my battery is low. He's making these really cool. Man, they're only like 2.5 inches or 3 inches or something. And like he does what he's doing is cool, man. He's just, I mean, it's super choppy, super stable though. But something I would try because I got a BFS rod. Um, Last summer, I think it was. I did a trade or something for one of the local guys for a bait, and I put a reel on it, and then I just put it up in the rafter, and I haven't pulled it down since. I think I fished it once with a drop shot on it, I think, and put it away, and then never picked it back up. But after I started seeing these little finesse glides coming out, I'm like, we're gonna have to pull that down and give one of these. Because they're cheap enough too, right? Like it's not like buying a $150 bait like most of them are.
Yeah, yeah. So like the tiny glide that I'm using is by Aerobaits, and he just came out with a tiny swimmer version of that glide bait. So it's um three like it's 3 piece bait, and it's just a
Oh
swimmer.
man.
And yeah, they're like 2.5 inches. I think they're pretty. They're not very heavy, but they're super stable in the water,
Yeah.
and they crush trout. Um, I've caught
Probably anything in there.
yeah, like That's yeah, just that little finesse size will just anything will crush that. My biggest fear is catching a small pike on it and just like cutting me
Gone.
off. Yeah.
Insta gone. As soon as you swing on it, gone.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, just my
it's just
line's
gonna
gonna
eat the whole
start
damn thing.
floating.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like this one time I was down in Florida, uh, and they have those little hammerhead sharks that are bonnet heads, and so there's like this 24-inch shark, and I see it was circling. We were just using live shrimp. It like circled my shrimp, and then like came and grabbed it, and I was like, I'm gonna give it a second, and then I swung into it, and just like rod doubled over for like 2 seconds, and then you just see my line start floating back towards me. It just popped it right off.
Yeah. Yep. Luckily, dude. I haven't had that experience yet, where something like toothy critter, and as soon as I swing on it, I haven't had one break off yet. And I have it like on smallmouth, like drop shot and small stuff like that. But thank God, nothing on a big bait yet. Everything's all been either they hook up and pop off, or I just haven't lost a bait from the fish yet.
Yeah,
Which I know it's coming. I'm probably due for it.
I've caught a couple. Um, I've caught a couple small pike on a BFS chatterbait, like the small, like Z-Man's smallest
That micro one.
chatterbait. Yeah, I've caught a couple pike on that, and you gotta hook them right because I was running 6 pound fluoro at that time, and hooked into one, hooked it right. Super fun fight in the kayak on my BFS rod, and next one I hooked into just like fought it for a little bit, and it just popped it off.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yep. Story of fishing, man. It happens almost every time I go out. It seems like.
Yeah. Luckily, just like knock on wood, I've only cast off 2 swim baits, and
Oh,
they've been like soft plastics, so nothing like super expensive, but like I'm always like trying to be diligent and like cutting off or
checking
retying.
out.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, my first one that I ever launched off was a Hoog. It was a Hoog 9.5,
Oh shit.
and I only used that thing for shit, dude, probably half the day. Like not even half the day. I think we were out on the water for half the day and gone. It's like 30 casts worth of throwing that bait, dude. And it was one of those. My line was just really old and starting to get brittle, and I was casting with it all day. Not all day, but I think that I just was over stressing that line, and then I just made one extra cast too much, dude, and it just. And I saw it sinking down, and we tried going up and saving it with the net, but as soon as it hit the bottom, dude, it was gone. Like I could never find it again. And then the wind picked up and the ripples, and I just couldn't see anything. Well,
Yeah,
shortly after I started carving my candy gill.
uh yeah, shoot, dude. I cast like I have a video of it too. It's really funny because at the beginning I'm like, oh, I just got this new 68 HUD. I'm super excited about it. And this is like a week after I caught like my big bass last year, which is like 4 pound trout eater on that Savage Gear trout. So I was super excited. I'm like, got the 68 HUD, super excited to throw it. And then like the like next clip, which is like several hours, throwing it, not retying at all. I go out to cast it, just pop, and it just like sails off, and I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
I was just like,
Yeah.
I was pissed, but it was my own fault. I was fishing around a lot of rock and not retying.
Yeah. My first Huddleston, so I was fishing off the bank, and dude, I stuck with Huddlestons. I've yet to land anything on a Huddleston yet. Like I've been bit on them a couple times, but they had a 60 special, and I was bank fishing, and I knew where I was fishing at had some logs at it, you know, and I knew where they were at. Like you can actually see them sticking out, and that's the only set of logs over there. And I just made one of those casts. It was just a dumb cast. Either I let it go too late or early, whatever it was. Line goes directly over the top of the log, and I'm like, okay, just go slow and then pop it up and over. I went to go pop it up and over. Of course, the hook rolls over, snatches the log. Like, son of a bitch, man. So, and I was pulling on it, dude, trying to get the hook to bend out. Dude, it just popped off, and then never saw it again.
Yeah.
Like, shit. And then I've never bought one since then, actually.
Yeah, I tell you what though, one of the baits that I do like to throw, I haven't hooked up on a fish yet, but I have some 6-inch citizens, and was throwing that around like up shallow later in the springtime, and was getting hits on it, not connecting. Had a pike swipe at it because one of the times I brought it back, it was like razor
Just
blades went through it. Yeah, just like big old deep claw mark, like teeth marks in it, just dragged it. And
yeah.
I did have like this small bass. Like I had it hanging over the side of the kayak. I was about to recast, and this small largemouth like jumps out of the water and tries to grab it. Like just like I have a tandem kayak, just splashes my girlfriend, gets her all wet. She's like, "What the fuck?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"It's like it wasn't me. It's the fish." But
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
oh
That's
man.
funny shit.
Okay, so have you ever
Yeah.
had like an incident on the water where you're kind of like had a oh shit moment where got into an accident or something like that?
Uh, yeah, I've had probably more than I can count. Um, what like specifically? Like what are you thinking about specifically?
Oh, dude, so I had this Airbnb trip, dude, where I was took this guy out on my kayak. He wanted to go bass fishing, and it just turned out to be this epic day. And we caught a lot of fish. Dude, he was catching like these freaking rock bass like that on a spinner bait.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
um, there was this dog that jumped off this dock and was swimming at us. And these people are like calling their dog back to them, and swims up to the kayak. And I have my TK hanging over the side because I'm paddling. And this
Yeah.
dog takes a snap at that TK. And the guy I was fishing with luckily moved that rod out of the way real quick, or else I would have
Oh,
hooked into this
oh,
dog, dude. That would have been
oh
terrible.
shit. Yeah, that'd have been a fucking terrible experience.
Oh man, it was. Oh, I would have felt so, dude. I love dogs, man, but dude, that dog was an asshole.
Was it? Yeah. Well, yeah. If it's swimming out there after you, sounds like it didn't want you guys around, is what it seems like.
I don't know. He was like seemed like friendly enough. Didn't bark at us or anything. It was just I we were because we were going by and we were talking to the owner as we were going by the dock, and the guy was like, "Yeah, he just figured out how to swim today, so he's been just all over."
That's just on mission.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, we were actually nothing with experience with a dog, but we we were out fishing this one lake. We're doing some smallmouth fishing, and they were all tucked underneath docks. So we were fishing, and this guy comes down, and he'd asked, "Can I help you guys find something or something along those lines?" So we're like, "Yeah, dude. Like, where's the fish at?" And he's like, "Well, they're not fucking here." And we're like, "Okay. Like, you're not gonna kick us out. Like, we already know what's coming, right?" So I was like, "Listen, we're not gonna play this game. Like, I'm legally allowed to be here. Like, I'm not touching your property. I'm not on your dock. I'm not hitting it. I haven't snagged on anything. I haven't touched your boat. Like, all is well, dude. Like, you just let us fish. We'll be gone and out of here in a couple minutes." And all of a sudden, his wife comes running down, like legitimately running down, on the phone with dispatch already with the police, saying that like we're trespassing. They've asked us to leave numerous times. We're not getting off their property. We're like, we're not on your property. Like, we're out here in a boat. Like, did you tell dispatch that we're on a boat? No? Like, okay. We just fishing, dude. Like, dude, whatever. So So we started fishing the next dock over, and next thing we know, the police come walking through their backyard and call us over there. And we're like, what's going on? It's like, you tell us, dude. Like, they freaked out because we're out here fishing. As far as I'm concerned, it's my legal right to be out here on the water fishing. And, you know, like, they say that they owned 10 feet around the perimeter of their dock because they pay taxes on it. I'm like, you're not paying taxes on the water. Like, yeah, you have to pay taxes to put your dock into my public water. So anyways, the cop ended up agreeing with them, saying that, yeah, they own property out to, 10 foot beyond their dock, and you're technically trespassing, so you guys need to leave. And I had the RCW and everything pulled up on my phone, and I was so damn mad. I wanted to, drive the boat over there and show them, like, you're really going to enforce an unlawful thing right now? Mm-hmm. You're really going to tell me to leave and that I am trespassing on water? You are crazy as hell, But they were like, well, if you guys just keep going and fishing down this way, that would be fine. Just back this dock. Like, it would have been 10, 15 docks down, and the guys didn't stop us and interrupt us from fishing. Like, why aren't you yelling at them for? Because it's like a gross misdemeanor or something like that if you're interfering with someone legally taking fish or obtaining fish or whatever it is. Like, why aren't you yelling at them for taking away from my fishing? Like, they're fucking with my fishing, so go yell at them for that. That's against the law. What I'm doing is not.
Yeah, well, and at the same time, dude, it's like, what? It's like, okay, so you called law enforcement, you called the cops or whatever. It's not exactly an emergency, like.
Well, and that's so I was with my buddy Cody, and he was kind of saying the same thing, like lady, like, you, what are you freaking out about? Like, we would have been long gone, and like, we didn't touch any of your stuff, so like, you're gonna call the cops because of this? Like, that's just crazy to me. But people are out there, dude. They don't want you by their docks. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't care. As long as I'm not like hitting the boat, and of course you're gonna ding a dock every now and then with a jig or something. But whatever.
Yeah, it's
they do more damage to our baits than we do to the docks.
For sure, dude. And it's like I didn't go walk through your backyard to stand on the bank and fish your dock. Like, I'm out on the boat, yeah. Out on the water.
Yeah. Well, and that's like, if you watch us go down the bank, and, I know the guy saw us coming down and obviously working the docks, and then we finally get to his. So it's like we spent 30 seconds on each dock. Like, so 30 seconds would have been in and out. And you turned this into a freaking 20-minute deal, 30 minutes. Because where we were at, the police station is just literally right around the corner. So they were there in no time. They made it sound like we were on their property, like you said, like we came through their backyard and we were standing on their dock or something. It's like, that, dude. Crazy. Like, we're not out here trying to cause problems. We just want to fish and then move on.
Yeah, man. Like, when I lived out in Florida, I had this friend that lived on a lake, and he had just this little tin John boat, and he's had shit ass kids come and steal his boat, walk into his backyard and steal his boat, and then it'll just end up on the other side of the lake. Which, dude, there's a hospital. Yeah, there's a hospital on the lake too. So I don't know, they just took a joyride in his little John boat with the trolling motor. And it's just yeah, it's not like you guys are doing, shit ass kid activities like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, we were just there to catch fish and then move on. But it's all good. Yeah, we haven't had too many crazy experiences as far as just we were on a we were actually in the middle of a tournament. My buddy let me borrow his motor. I blew my motor because I'm in Washington, Tiny Boat Nation. So I blew my motor a week before the tournament. My buddy let me borrow his, and apparently when I clamped it down, I didn't seat one of them all the way down or something. It was just not tight enough. Well, when that motor ran out of fuel, because we were on our way back to the launch, it started like spitting and sputtering. It's like my tank was sloshing and it was sucking in air. But when it stops, the motor kicks over to the left or the right, and then it'll slosh the fuel over, and then all of a sudden it fires the motor back up. So as the motors turn, it kicks the motor back on, and then it basically goes full throttle and it puts you into a circle. So we're hauling ass doing like 20, like we're in a 14-foot John V hole, John boat, whatever, and going about 28 miles an hour. All of a sudden the motor cuts and it kicks over to the right, which starts making us turn, which then it grabs fuel and full throttle again. So in the turn, it ended up, we did a donut. We went from 28 miles an hour to doing a donut in like half a second. And my buddy goes flying to one side. I go flying. I'm actually out. Both arms are up out of the boat, hanging into the water. My face is just full of water. Luckily, he went the opposite direction of where we were turning, or else I think we would have flipped the boat, or at least sunk it, because my whole the back end of the boat was only an inch or two away from just submerging underneath the water. It was fucking scary.
Dude,
But,
that's insane, man. I think
yeah.
generally though, like most people that you encounter like out on the water, like while you're fishing, from my experience, have generally been pretty nice and are like supportive and are cool.
Dude, yeah, absolutely. Man, there was one time I was fishing a dock with my son, and I was like, hey, don't cast towards that dock. I was like the homeowners or whatever up there. I was like, I just don't want to deal with it. And as we start pulling up to their dock, my son throws the bait and smashes that dock that I told him not to. And the homeowner was like, hey, you guys catching anything? I was like, nah, just trying to catch your dock, just trying to make a joke out of it. And he's like, screw that dock. He's like, I know there's big fish under there, though. He's like, good luck, And then just like, so 9 times out of 10, that's the experience you have. But every now and then you get one of those parents that are just like, blows their lid and loses their shit if you're down there fishing and having a good time. And I don't understand those people, but most of my experience too has been the same. It's just really cool with just people like us, just like to go out there and be in the outdoors and fish.
Yeah, I like one of my fears right now is when I'm out in the summer. One of the lakes that I fish has this big boat slip, and people store their pleasure boats, their pontoons, whatever there. My biggest fear is like when I'm in my kayak and I'm making my drift past that dock and I'm flipping in there. Well, one, to bang a pontoon while somebody's like getting it ready or whatever, but also just like someone just yelling at me because I don't know, just kind of like the entitlement of, oh, this is our boat slip. I pay so much money for this. And it's like
Yeah.
I'm trying to just catch fish. Like I've seen big fish here. Like
Yeah. 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 And I had one guy, it was kind of funny. He, because you can access the water, like from the water, you could pull into this little marina. And I went in there and started fishing. I was with my son, and I went in there and started fishing. And he was the guy that goes down, like just does all the maintenance stuff down there on the docks. And I saw him walking up to me, and so I turned around and I was talking to my son. I was like, hey, I was like, don't cast real quick. I was like, I just want to see what you guys are gonna say. And he comes over, he's like, hey, because right as you're pulling into there, it says no fishing. And both my headphones are gonna die now. It says no fishing as you pull into the little marina area. And I told him, I was like, yeah, they can't tell me not to fish in here. Like, there's water in here. If I can access it, like, that's my legal right. Like, I'm going in here and fishing because same thing, big fish hang out underneath those big marina slips and boat docks. Guy's like, hey, you can't come in here and fish. I'm like, you might as well turn away. I was like, we're not playing this game. And I was like, and on top of that, I have every legal right to be in here. I was like, I'm not on your dock. I was like, if you want me to show you the RCW, I was like, I'm more than willing to stop fishing and show you. And as soon as I brought up the RCW, he's like, all right, well, just, there's expensive boats in here. Just don't hit them. I'm like, brother, like, that's not my main goal. Like, I'm not going to come in here and try to damage people's property. I just want to come in here and catch fish, see if I can't find one. If not, then I'm out, you know? And he's like, all right, well, hey, you know, have a good day. All right, cool. That was close, you know? Because I don't want to deal with that kind of stuff. Because we're actually fishing a tournament, too. So I had my tournament. Out here in Washington, we have to run tournament banners on our motors. Because some of our lakes are, because of our slot limit, if we want to run like live wells or something like that, that's what allows, like, say, if WDFW was out there and they pulled us over, because we're only allowed to have like one fish over 17 inches for bass. So if you have a tournament banner on, you have, you know, three 22-inch fish in there, and they're not going to, you know, fine you or take you for it. They know those fish are getting released. But yeah, as soon as that guy saw the tournament banner, and I told him, I was like, hey, look, I'm the president of this club. Like, I'm telling you right now, you're not going to tell me not to fish here. I have every right to.
Yeah, for sure. And so like the same thing with like this boat slip that I fish. Like I've just drifted by in my kayak. Um, I'm not physically going into the slip with my kayak and just right in the
Right.
middle of it. Because the same thing, like on the dock, it says, no fishing from dock, no trespassing, whatever. Because
Yeah.
they have had issues before with, people leaving their keys in their boats and people coming on and like
Jacking their boat.
stealing and borrowing and pleasure cruising, joyriding people's boats around the lake and then returning them and acting like nothing's happened.
Yeah.
Dude, because I can't,
Yeah.
I can't even imagine that. That'd be crazy. Like you go,
Dude, could you imagine? Yeah, coming down, your boat's gone.
well, they like so. There's a story of somebody that worked for the sheriff's department, and I don't remember what their position was. They weren't like a deputy or anything, but they worked for the sheriff's department, and they went to this lake, and they went into the marina, and would just check boats, see if were keys in it, and go enjoy ride somebody's boat, and then return it. And somebody that owned one of those boats was out with their buddy on their boat, and their buddy was like, "Isn't that your boat going by? Just some random dude on it."
Holy shit.
Just,
Dude, that'd be wild as hell, man. Like, out there just hanging out with your buddy. Next thing you know, some random person's driving your boat around. Nobody else on it, nobody you know, just some random dude. Fuck.
yeah, man, just crazy behavior.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, you get a lot of those drunk, wild people out there that like to just party, dude. You get water sports and drunk people together, man. It's chaos out there. Like most of the time during the summer, there's certain lakes with my son, I flat out, we just don't go there during the summertime. It's like, it's not worth it. There's so many, like there was that one that I was telling you about with the smallmouth and the tigers in it. There was an 8-year-old girl that she was being towed on a tube, and someone ran over the top of her line, grabbed it with their motor, and ended up pulling her and whipping her into the side of that boat, and like crushed her face. She has like steel plates and reconstructive surgery and shit now. It's like just people who just don't pay attention out there too. But yeah.
yeah, some of those bigger lakes that I fish have they have like little inlets or whatever, and so those are no wake zones, and usually the fishing's pretty good back there. So I try to
Yeah.
fish. I try to fish those, or I usually, don't fish a lot in my kayak like offshore on these bigger lakes, just because there's wake boats out there and people, tubing and whatever, and I've got waked out a few times, like, or I'm just sitting there in my kayak and I'm just like, holy smokes.
Yeah, man. Yes, and we've had a couple lakes where there's like choke points into the launches, right? So like you launched into kind of like a tiny little cove. This one in particular like chokes down to like a three foot, little channel that goes through there, and on each side you have stumps on one side, and then you have a rock bank on the other, and it's flat out. It's just a no wake zone in there, and this guy comes flying in with a wake boat towing something like a wakeboard behind him, and you get halfway into this launch, dude, and it's just nothing but stumps in there. I'm like, you guys have no fucking clue. Like, you're about to kill this guy, but if he goes down and falls, like, he's gonna hit a stump down there for sure. It's gonna happen. So anyways, he ended up waking me out. I'm on like a 12-foot boat with my son. Wake us out. We both had to like drop down and like grab onto the side like the gunnel, So I hauled ass over there. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you can't come flying through here like that. Oh, that's not illegal. I said, absolutely was. You cut between, first of all, you're on plane, and you cut between me and a paddle boarder. And then on top of that, you're coming into a no wake zone, towing a wakeboarder, dude. Like, yeah, that's absolutely illegal. Well, luckily there was one of the guys that lives on that cove is I don't know if he's an actual sheriff or like you were talking to someone that worked for the sheriff department, but he ended, because he heard my conversation with the guy, and he ended up yelling, it's like, hey, if you got a problem with it, like, come talk to me. I'm one of the local sheriffs out. I think maybe he was one of the sheriffs, saying that he was a local sheriff or works with them, and come over here and talk to him if he's got a problem with what I had to say. I'm like, yeah, dude, go talk to that guy. So, like, you can't come in here like that, dude. Like, I got a kid on the boat, and you got paddle boarders in here, you got swimmers in here, dude. Like, you can't do that.
Oh man, yeah. I don't know. Just some
I
of
try
the
to avoid.
yeah, some of the common sense stuff I just like, cause we've been waked out by like people fishing too. Like this dude made like
Oh yeah.
like a 200, like he was, I don't know if he thought he was KBD. He was trying to win like Bassmaster Classic or whatever, cause he just hammered down to make just like 200. It wasn't a big lake, like a 200-yard run, and fish like this cliff bluff, which like fishing's good around there, but it's like, dude, there's nobody else on the lake besides like some kayakers and you and your big bass boat.
Yeah. Dude, I swear some of the bass guys are just assholes. I don't know, like there's like some kind of entitlement or something, because for one, they don't care. Like, I've been out there in my kayak, and I'm like, dude, I'm out here bass fishing too. Like, well, I don't care. Like, in some of them, they're $100,000 boats, live scope. With recording, a couple of buddies have really nice boats and live scope too. But I also give people the respect of like giving them their space, But some of these other guys, they don't give a shit, dude. They think they're entitled because they have the boat or something. They just come either they'll pull up onto you, or they'll rip past you. Like, I'm like, dude, just because your boat doesn't kick out that big of a wake doesn't mean I want you ripping past me at 75 miles an hour, like within 20 feet of me either. Like, fuck, man, this isn't that big of a deal.
Dude, but dude, the reverse of that, man. So I've had kayakers and paddleboarders do the same. If I'm fishing from the bank, like my buddy and I was still at BFS, and he was fly fishing for trout, and it's a pretty big lake. And we've had like kayakers and paddleboarders go like right by us, like right in our casting
right in
zones.
Little pocket.
Yeah, and it's like, are you?
Yeah.
It's like common decency. Like we're fishing here. You have this whole entire lake to cruise on.
Yep. I've had that same thing. I've gone out fishing with my son, and kayak. They just pull in and start fishing right where you're at. It's like, dude, if I can cast and hit you, like, you're way too fucking close. Like, you don't need to be right here. Like, you have the ability to go anywhere on here, and you have to stick right here. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, exactly, dude. So, like, does your kid, are they like into swim baits, or like what do they like to fish?
When we first started, he didn't. When I first started throwing and like building the baits, he would throw the gill a couple times, but he had zero confidence. He never got bit, like, once. I think he got bit once, but never ever landed one. So he instantly was like, nah, I'll just stick to my Ned rigs and drop shot. And I mean, he can throw anything, like spinner baits. He throws it all basically, other than swim baits. And then this last summer though, we were sitting in the living room, and he was like, "Hey, can I paint a bait?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, you can paint a bait." I was like, "Let's go, dude. Like, what do you want to paint?" He's like, "I think I want to paint the Diva, the glide." And I was like, "Yeah, dude. Like, let's do it." So I got him on the airbrush, and he painted his own. And we went out at the following weekend and stuck his first swim bait fish, and then dude, he locked that thing in. Like now, that's all he throws. He doesn't even pick like that entire summer. Not once did he pick up a Ned rig. He just wanted to throw his bait that he painted. Like, but it was a solid fish too that he caught, which of course gives you the confidence boost, right? So now you just think that every fish and every cast or every cast could be a big fish. So yeah, he's just now starting to get into the big baits. More the glides. He doesn't like the wakes. He doesn't like the lift baits. Didn't like the crawler. He just loves those glides.
Yeah, I don't know. I like a glide's a little more subtle versus a wake or a crawler. That's a lot of commotion. I don't know.
Yeah, I think for him it's because he likes to incorporate the action and be a
Hmm.
part of it. If you're just casting and winding, that can get boring. So it's like wakes, any of those lift baits, crank downs, stuff like that, crawler even. You're just kind of at a steady retrieve, and like you can, switch them and pop them and walk them every now and then. But the glide, you constantly have to stay in contact with. I think it just allows him to just hold all of his focus to it, and then
Hmm.
he's more intuitive, so he has to constantly pay attention. So, and I think he likes that kind of style fishing. Uh, he's really methodical. Like, doesn't matter what he's throwing, he's super patient with everything. So, like when he started throwing the glide, it took him about 30 minutes to sit there, and he wasn't even fishing for a fish. He was just trying to see how to retrieve it and reel, or if he wants to incorporate some rod action. So the kid's a hammer though, man. Like, and because of the patience and like I was saying, like just takes his time to figure a bait out. Uh, he catches dude giant fish. Like he outfishes me fucking every time.
Yeah.
Like, it in the beginning you're kind of like dude, good job, great job, proud dad moment. And then by the 50th time that summer, you're like, buddy, like fuck you and your fish.
You just like bump his fish off with the net.
Exactly. Oops, sorry.
Dude,
But yeah,
my buddy came out uh, not too long ago, and he brought his 5-year-old, and uh, I was I came out with him, and I was throwing BFS, but then I also brought my Depths 115, so we were just hammering big trout. Like he in the first 10 minutes of that trip, his 5-year-old kid caught a 21 and a half inch uh,
damn.
cut bow, like
Oh
massive
damn.
fish, just thick, fat. It's like super crazy. And then he was throwing around my Depths 115, and he was getting like these 25-inch trout to follow it, and like 5 years old, like throwing that bait caster, and was doing pretty good with it. And he did end up like really bird nesting it one time, and so uh,
Yeah.
it's a little bit older line on it, and so I was like just kind of put it out of commission, and I was like, all right, whatever, and came back to my place and hung out, and I was showing them swim baits, and he was, this 5-year-old kid, he's like, I want to throw swim baits. He's like, oh, like
Yeah.
just a hammer, like could fly fish, like could throw a spinning rod really good, was doing really well with that bait caster, with pretty much just learning it and me giving him like little lessons, like just right there on the lake.
That's rad.
Yeah, but
Especially at such a young age.
yeah, like he was like earlier this year in the springtime, he was catching 4-pound smallies, um, stuff like that. So
Hell yeah.
and
Yeah,
they
sounds like my son.
yeah, they live on near Lake Oahe here in South Dakota, so they have like just great smallmouth fishery. And so I was like, with the forage that you guys have in that lake, I was like recommending baits. I was like, dude, you guys could probably stick some massive uh, smallies on like gill patterns, and my buddy agreed with me because my buddy's the hammer, and he's like gill patterns, and I was like, but you guys also have a
That's
oh
kokanee in there.
yeah they got a oh there's a smelt in there, little bait
Yep.
fish, and they can get pretty big, but like a lot of swim baits are like shad profile, a little taller, or whatever, and there's shad in there
Yeah.
in that lake too. But I was like, dude, check out that bull herring by Bike Buka,
Yeah.
and I was like,
Yep.
that would really work there.
Yeah. And like that's I haven't seen too many of the bull herrings, but like those herring style baits work really well here too. Just because we have kokanee, and like when you get in our Lake Washington, they have smelt balls that'll run through there too. Like little 2 to 3 inch, uh, tiny, look like little sardines or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those profile baits, they crush on any lake to begin with, but especially on those style lakes.
Yeah, I just watched a little bit of Ben Milliken's latest video he put out. Like, there's smallmouth fishing, and like this smallie spit out like this big Cisco, and then he's
Yeah.
like same size as like the 9-inch straw and same profile. So he starts throwing that and sticks some massive smallies on that swim bait.
Yeah, I saw he just released that video. I want to go watch it because I don't know where he was at, but I know he's come out here to like Dvorak out here in Idaho, which that's where like have you seen Joey Walton?
Mm-hmm.
That's where he fishes all his 9-pounders and 8-pound smallmouth. That's where they're all coming from. So I think Milliken last year came out here, but I don't know if he came out here this year. But do you know where he was at when he in that video?
I don't know, because I was watching the video and I was almost like, fuck, he could almost be at like Lake Oahe, but then like it spit out that Cisco, and I was like, no, and then I was like, it's probably not there. He's somewhere like, in this northern part. I got a map right here. I don't know. He's somewhere kind of up in the northern
Yeah.
area.
I wouldn't be surprised if he went back to Dvorak and that's where it was from. Is it like does it look like a pretty deep reservoir and like all the bank lines are super steep up to the tree lines?
I didn't watch the whole video, but I was seeing like more like hills, like grassy hills, and I don't know.
Mountains?
No,
Not mountain scenery? Oh,
no,
okay.
not mountains or anything like that. But he said it was like like I don't know, that was like from down in Texas. That was like 20-hour drive or whatever. Or
Ooh,
they
so okay. So that could be over there at Dvorak.
yeah,
I'm gonna
because
go. I'm gonna go figure that out because, yeah, dude, that lake is special. If that's the lake, I'm not surprised that he was out there sticking those big ass smallmouth with a big glide.
yeah, because when he lived in Nebraska, he would come up and fish Lake Oahe, and was sticking some big smallmouth at that lake, and he's been to other like there's glacier lakes over on the eastern side of South Dakota where
Yeah.
they're also like super deep, big smallies, and I know he's been out there in South Dakota like catching big smallies too.
Yeah, I'll be honest. That guy just catches big fish in general.
Just a fishy dude.
He is. Yeah, I don't care if it's crappie, bluegill, trout. It doesn't matter. That guy he knows how to catch big ones.
Dude, so he has this video where, because like I'm kind of near Mount Rushmore, and so a couple years ago he had a video where he was out here and he was catching like some pretty decent brown trout on a Gancraft 70, and then also like the little stupid like salmon eggs.
Yeah, 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 dude. So I have a buddy Brian. He goes out and he actually helped me out with some of the swim bait fishing because he was stationed out here. He's in the army, but when he was stationed out here and we would go fishing, he taught me a lot of the a lot of jig stuff and a lot of swim bait stuff. And then he got restationed. Now he's Colorado, I think Colorado, some shit like that. But man, he's out there fly fishing giant streamers for those browns. And I've only caught one brown trout in my entire life. It was on a jerk bait. And it was funny because I wasn't even supposed to be fishing that jerk bait in that lake because they're not supposed to have treble hooks or barbed hooks. I was like, I was whatever. So I was casting out there, but I caught the brown. But dude, he's catching fucking browns, you know. And he's like, oh, dude, they'll eat like your Diva Glide. He's like, dude, they'd eat that. He's like, those big ones. He's like, they're fucking mean and aggressive and big. I'm like, dude, you let me know when that season runs, and I'll be there. I was like, I want to go try that, dude. Catching a big brown on a swim bait would be so fun.
Yeah, we have this one spot. The fish are, I don't know. There's 30-inch brown trout in there, but they're literally the hardest fish to catch. Like maybe in the country. Like one of my bosses is like this world-class fly fisherman. Like he's guided in Alaska, knows his stuff. And he's like those are literally the hardest trout to catch. Like
yeah, that's right here. And then the this is more of a rarity is the tiger trouts.
Yeah.
So you get like a brook trout and a brown trout that mix to make a tiger trout.
Mm-hmm.
Which I did catch one of those out here. I sent that to my brother and he's like, where the fuck did you catch that? He's like, do you even know what that is? I'm like, I don't know. Looks like a trout to me, you know? He's like, no, dude, that's not just like a trout. Like, that's super rare to catch that fish. I'm like, sick. Like, I didn't know that. But then I didn't know shit about fishing or trout fishing at that time either, though. So, but he's the fly guy, my brother. That guy knows anything and everything about flies.
Yeah, I wanna for those brown trout out here in this like little it's like this big it's kind of like a pond, and then like it's this pond at the bottom of a spillway, and then it like flows into this creek, and the creek's just loaded with big fish, big trout, but they're super hard to catch. But in this big basin, there's these huge brown trout that are there. And so when my buddy was out, we weren't able to make it happen because he had his kid with him. But I was like, we have to go at night, and we have to throw some big baits at these brown trout. And it just like didn't happen this trip. But I want to make like a little small mouse wake bait and catch one of those browns on that at nighttime. That'd be sick.
There's a company, FOM or FOM, or I don't know how they pronounce it, but they make a tiny one. And I think the reason I bought that one is because they were out there catching trout on it. And I think the guy, he'd caught a couple browns. That's not why I bought it, was because of browns, but just because of trout in general. But dude, it's sick. It's like, I don't know, an inch and a half long, tiny ass little tail on there. It's fucking sweet. I bet you, I'll send you a picture of it when we're all off this. I'll bet you that would crush out there on those browns for you.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I wanna make one like heavy enough to where I could throw it on, like my jerkbait rod. Like that'd be perfect for throwing it. But it's like a little wake, so I don't know if I want to make it out of like. I don't know if I want it jointed yet or whatever. If I make it jointed, I'll probably do basswood. But if I make it like a one-piece wake, I'll probably do like balsa.
Yeah. Yeah, my favorite one, like if you, depending on how much detail you put into it, the poplar, and that's probably my favorite wood for a wood bait is poplar. That or maple, but maple is just cool because it's got cool grain to it. But that poplar, because the grain is really tight, you can get all that detail in there. But yeah, if you're just doing like a simple shape, dude, basswood is where it's at. Balsa is hard. I like balsa if you're just doing like rounded, simple shapes, nothing to them.
Yeah.
But super pointed. the basswood balsa, they're crazy buoyant. So nice thing about that, if you want to throw it on your BSF or BFS, if you're doing a small bait like that with balsa, you can put so much lead in there and still get it to float. So you'll be able to cast it better if you use balsa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So as far as like Sensei Swimbaits go, you guys got anything in the works right now?
Yeah, dude. I still got to carve out the other half of it, but we started working on this. This is I think as it stands right now, it's like 9.8 or something like that inches, and then with the tail, it'll be just over 10, probably like 10 and a quarter or something like that. Try to get close and see some detail on it.
That's cool, dude.
But this is just going to be a good platform to try. We're going to try so many different things. We're going to do lipless wakes with it, in 3-piece, 4-piece, swimmers in 3-piece, 4-piece. I even thought about throwing some giant crawler wings on here, and maybe just like the big KRR crawlers, but like ×2.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we don't know exactly what it's going to end up being, but we're going to try everything out of it. That's for sure. But yeah, nice fat profile.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think when I posted it in the universe, a lot of the guys were like, dude, that needs to be a wake. And I think it's mainly because of that profile. Those big fat wake profiles just get bit, dude.
Yeah. I think like I think a lot of people are, doing glides, making glides. I think a swimmer would be sick. I don't see as many people doing swimmers right now.
No, the only person that I see, like obviously there's the guys that have been making them for like Piz, he has his swimmers. But those oxbows, Nick Riddell is making the silky sevens and silky whatever, but his swimmer is rad. So I think that's kind of what helped me inspire doing swimmer on this one, is because it's like not many out there. His swim's rad. I want a swimmer. Like a lot of our trout eaters out here, they'll crush on swimming baits. I mean, most of the time when I'm fishing my glides, I'm not even doing anything. I just do a steady retrieve and just let it swim. So I was like, I think if I did a 3-piece big trout swimmer or 4-piece trout swimmer, dude, that would be fucking rad. So hopefully this one works out. Might have to shave down the profile and kind of thin it out a little bit to get it to swim right, but we'll see what happens. Might want to roll a lot, but it'll be a fun platform to try out, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, you could try some different stuff out. Like a lipless wake would be really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was the one thing. I love putting lips in baits. I mean, like my gill, our squirrel that we have, which we haven't released it yet. There are some out there, and NDK Yak Angler, he's up there just north of you in North Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
We sent him one of those, and dude, he crushed them. He caught 2 of his biggest fish on it. It was the 2-piece version of this guy.
Oh, the squirrel.
Yeah, the squirrel.
Yeah, dude, that was a sick ass video.
Yeah, dude, it was cool. It was funny because like we sent him the baits, and it took him about a month to get on some fish with them. So like every day we're like, we're not the type, like if we send somebody free baits or something, like if they end up giving me feedback on it, perfect. Like I hardly ever do I like constantly reach out to these guys like, hey, how'd you like the baits? You like them? They're good? No? Yes? Thumbs up? Thumbs down? We just waited for it to happen organically, And then he posted it. It was the morning of the gathering. We were driving to the gathering, and Ian was like, he fucking posted it, dude. So we watched it on the way to the gathering. Yeah, that was sick. Him catching his 2 biggest fish of the year was rad. And his audio in that video makes that bait shine. Like because it actually picks up on all the squeak and the clack of it. Like some of those videos you don't get to hear it, right? You just see the bait swimming, but this one he's close enough you can hear it. I'm like, perfect. Like it's because that's one of the big features of it, man. It's this big old clacky, squeaky rat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that
and
video's pretty sick.
dude, ND Yak Angler is such a hammer. And watching his videos, he's just like all chill and calm, and he's fishing, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh man, like it's I don't know. He's probably literally one of the best like YouTube fishermen right now, in my opinion.
He's the Bob Ross of fishing, dude. Like that super. Like, he starts his videos off every time the same. He's like, "Howdy, everyone." You know, he's got like that soft but like storytelling type voice. You know, it's like you can just sit there and close your eyes and listen to the guy and just be content with the content. You know, like you don't even have to watch it.
Yeah, and he's just hammering big smallies, largemouth, muskie, pike.
Yeah. Well, and that's like so. Ian is actually the guy that, like my buddy, he's the one that got me on board with watching him, and then possibly getting him some baits. And because he throws all the unique style ones, right? Like he never like even like his Senko video. It's a bright bubblegum pink, Senko, so it's not like your usual baits that he goes out there and throws. Throwing out some crawlers and that alligator from Johan.
Yeah,
So I'm like, dude, our baits are kind of unique. I wonder if he'll fish them. And then once I started watching all of his videos before we sent him anything, I'm like, holy shit, dude! Like for North Dakota, this dude's catching some big ass fish. And then he goes out there for the muskies for the muskies,
mm-hmm.
and then just shits on him with the big crawler. I'm like, dude, this guy's rad. He's just sick.
Yeah, dude. And so like there's like some of the YouTube videos out there where they're throwing like the big stupid lures, like the lunker hunt spider and stuff like that. And it's like I just like hate those videos, but then he does it, and it's like he does, it's his own style. He's super calm about everything and catches on it. Yeah.
And he doesn't do it for like I think those other guys are doing it for like their own. Yeah, I don't know how to describe that. You're right though. He's throwing the same shit as those guys, but yet his videos are way better than those other ones. I think it's just because his demeanor and his purpose behind it. Like he's not trying to promote a product. He's not like trying to get the click views of, hey, the Walmart challenge. Let's go to Walmart and pick up a lunker hunt and see what we can go catch on it. He just genuinely likes to fish. He likes those weird baits, and then he goes out there and produces.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're always usually good fish, So
yeah,
it's fun that you bring it up because I never put those two together.
Yeah, I think just kind of like watching him, I think he kind of likes to throw stuff like overpower his rods, if you will. I think he kind of likes that too, because he throws a lot of some of those smaller swim baits on like a St. Croix, like Bass X or whatever. So like I think like a medium heavy.
When he took our squirrel weighs 3.8 ounces, but 4 ounces, and he was throwing it on like a 7-foot medium heavy or something like that. But it was way, way underpowered for that bait, for sure.
Yeah,
he was
but
like how gently lobbed. I mean, the thing casts a mile, so luckily he had that in his favor. But he was having to do like these really long like lob casts to get the thing out there, so he didn't like break his rod on a cast.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed about him. And there's like other dudes that will, really not like super overpower the rods, but I don't know, like Marshall does the same thing where he'll throw lighter rod for a little bit bigger bait.
Yep. Yeah, he's actually one of the first that I noticed doing that. And that's what made me, not necessarily him, but just noticing that I actually downsized my rods. Because I used to have like broomsticks.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, I was losing a lot of fish was the problem. So then I stepped down to a lighter rod, and I started actually my land percentage went through the roof. Just keeping those fish pinned more. But and I think that has to do with, you know, that parabolic bend, not unloading as fast, and, you know, going straight and allowing them to pop the bait out, constantly keeping that pressure on there. So, but I don't go too crazy like my squirrel. I throw that thing on a broomstick. That one I do. Like seeing Matt throw that thing on the that medium heavy, I was like, ooh, shit. Like, good luck. And then it worked out great for him. So
Yeah. Well, and like he's catching big pike and muskies on that Bass X rod too, and like
yeah.
on a, you know, more conventional bass gear, it's just awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, and that's the other cool thing too, is like he's not like a brand snob, you know. So he's not like, oh, I gotta have the Mega Bass Destroyer, you know, or the even like some of these swim bait rods, like the Nameless Customs or something, where they're like $500, $600, $700 rods, you know. Like for him, it's like, dude, I just like to go fish. This is what I can afford. This is what I like to throw, and this is what I go do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I really like about it. And that's what I was saying, is like there's a difference in like his motives towards his videos. His is just, dude, he likes to go fish. He's like, fuck it, you know. This is the bait I got, and this is the rod I got. Let's go.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Well, one thing I did want to touch on though is like your guys' glide bait, with it being like a perch profile, especially for up, you know, us like northern guys, like perch are, I don't know, I think a forage option that not a lot of people gravitate towards. So I think that's pretty unique for you guys.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I did the perch in that pattern, or in that profile, or the glide in the perch profile. Dude, we have massive perch eaters up here, and I know like some states just don't even have perch, right? So like, but for us and like us northern guys, man, those perch are huge forages for up here, and like having that big humpback bulge off the back of it, you know, like this profile right here. I thought that was probably the most crucial part, was just having that super tall profile right there.
Mm-hmm.
But it made it a bitch to tune. I'll tell you that. It made it really hard to tune by giving it that humpback, because our center lines of everything and how it wants to pull through the water change, because you have way more buoyancy above your line tie than you can put weight down below. So we were constantly having rolling issues and whatnot. But we got it dialed now, and it's a fucking rad profile for sure. Because you can kind of turn it into anything.
Yeah.
It could be a trout. It could be all kinds of stuff. But when it's painted like a perch, dude, like WT's paint on this, oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah, I was
good. The sickest perch, like, not to be biased to my own bait, but it's the sickest perch bait out there. Like, it's rad.
Yeah.
Looks good. Looks like a perch. It is a perch, you know?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, there's like some painters out there that have like yellow perch dialed in, and yeah, WT's one of those. That paint on that bait would be sick.
Yeah, and it sucks, dude. I had him paint up a batch for me, and one of them I overweighted, and I was like, oh shucks, you know, I got to keep this one. I don't want to sell that. So I kept it in my personal stash, dude. And then the first day I took, or no, I guess it wasn't the first day. It was like second or third trip I took it out. And I had already caught a bunch of fish on it, and went to go cast, and one of these dock pilings was like 7 foot tall, just for allowing the dock to slide up and down it. Wasn't paying attention, dude, and I just dead center hit this post and just blew the tail off. And I was like, oh, dude, like, such a beautiful paint. First of all, I didn't want to ruin the bait, but I was like, now I got to try to figure out how to either get him another batch so I can have him paint up some more perch, because that was my favorite paint job. Because all my baits that I have that I make for myself, dude, they're all blanks.
Yeah.
Like, I rarely fish one of my painted baits. And that's just because I end up selling them or giving them away, or I'm pretty reckless too, so I'll cast them wherever I need to, and I break baits all the time, but I get to build them, so just go home and make up another one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I rarely fish my painted one, so when I broke that one, I was like, God damn it, dude. Like, that's my fucking favorite one.
So, you guys do some of your painting in-house though too, right?
Yeah, I do most of it. So I all of our painting. If it's our paint, it's me that paints it. Um, Ian has done some of the squirrels, and he's done some of the crawlers too. But most of our batches I do. So like our smallmouth pattern, my bluegills are the ones that I paint. I actually have a couple right here. So this one is mine. This is the pattern that I do. It's this one here.
Mm-hmm.
And then every one of my tails is highlighted tip 2, which nobody else is doing this. Which I don't know why. Because those bluegills have those highlighted tips just like that.
Oh, and yeah, and green sunfish too, dude.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot of those panfish. I've even seen some of the like crappies and stuff that get that kind of iridescent tip tail. And then that's my perch.
Yeah.
But these ones I do in house. Sometimes I have, like right now, I'm actually in the works with a couple painters trying to get him some more. Like Floyd Watkins, he's like my go-to for shad. Like that guy can paint a shad better than, as far as I'm concerned, better than most out there. And then Brett from BNA, he's going to get some stuff, and then WT, of course, he's going to get some more stuff too.
Heck yeah, dude. Yeah, because I was just looking through your guys' stuff right now on Instagram, and
Yeah.
fuck, dude, I fuck with that crawler like hard. That thing's so sweet.
Fun. And it was kind of a funny deal, dude. Like, so we built that. So it took us like a year and a half to get that bait dialed in, just from wing placement to tuning to hooks, you name it. The biggest problem was our wings. Like we had wings that worked on it, and it would still bloop, it would undulate and do its thing, but either they worked and they were really weak, like the super soft aluminum styles, or they were strong and didn't work. So it was like, fuck, dude. Like we took forever to figure out like what wing we wanted to go with. Finally came across this one, which is the current one we run now, and Ian, the first day he took it out, just was getting exploded on, like the most aggressive topwater eats he's ever seen in his life. And he calls me and he's like, "You have to go tie this thing on, put a set of wings on. I don't care what you're doing, go fish." And like, dude, all right, like can't, like I'm thinking just topwater, right? Like topwater blowups are fun, like it's just topwater. Man, when I tell you the most aggressive, like he was talking about, he's not lying. Like my 7A7, my PB, when it came out of the water, I mean, it came out of the water with that thing cheeseburgered in its fucking face and like all the way up out of the water, and then thrashed and fought me the whole way there, back to the kayak. And from that moment on, I'm like, this one is different. Like the topwater bite on this bait in particular, and I think it's just crawlers in general. But dude, they unleash every bit of fury that they have on that thing, and I think they're trying to kill it. I think they just want it either shutting up because they feel it against their lateral line or something. But I think they want to blow it up out of the water and kill it or stun it, and then come back and get it again. Because I've had them pop it, like launch it out of the water 1.5 feet, 2 feet. It lands, you bloop it 3 more times, and then they crush it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're just trying to kill it before they eat it. So that's why they're so aggressive on their blow-ups with it. But yeah, they come front flipping out of the water for it and everything.
Yeah. Well, and it's not like it doesn't seem like a super big size either, to where they can still like crush that. And yeah.
Yeah. And the one cool thing, and one of my buddies, Dan Hadrow, he's the one that kind of told me the side or the bottom profile is kind of like the shape of a gill.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's like it still has a fish profile, but it's also a frog profile. But it's also a frog profile on the bottom. So I'm like, shit, dude, that's why it works so well. I mean, I think it just matches so many different profiles, from a frog to a fish to maybe even a bird. But yeah, and it's not big enough to where it's like too intimidating for them. You know, it's like it's still a pretty decent size, but worth a shot for them. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was like looking at your guys' Instagram, and yeah, your guys' glide bait with that smallmouth paint is pretty sick.
Yeah, it was dope. So I was looking around at paint jobs, and I think it was a TK or a K9. Yeah, it was a K9. This guy hit me up, and I'd done a smallmouth pattern before, and how I was doing my bars was a little bit different, like the little stripes and stuff was a little bit different. And he hit me up asking if I could do that paint job. So I redid a stencil for it, and which is the current one I still use, and it turned out so fucking good. And I was like, that's it. Like all of my smallmouth or all of my divas for that next batch, I was like, they're all going smallmouth. And then the one that you probably saw is my latest version. And man, not to toot my own horn, but that's a badass smallmouth pattern. Like, and I replicated one of the fish that I caught from one of our lakes here. Like I took the picture, put it in my program, and stenciled out the exact outlines of that fish for the stencil for all the spots on it.
Dude, that's super sick, dude. And
Yeah,
then
thanks.
I think that glide bait in a largemouth pattern would be cool. Like nothing obnoxious, just kind of something like subtle.
Yeah, I've done a couple largie patterns that I really liked. Mine I always end up having a problem, at least as far as like what I like and aesthetically like to see, is the lateral line, that black stripe and like spots, kind of like the smallmouth. But mine always end up being like overpowering, you know, like just big old black splotches, and it's like green back and white belly, and it's like that works, you know, like for a weight bait or something, I guess. But I don't know. I like a little bit more realism to it, and I haven't quite dialed in a nice largie pattern yet, but I want to.
Yeah, cause like I don't know, a lot of like our bass out here, as far as their coloration goes, they don't have a super distinct like black lateral line like with the you know long splotches or dots or
Yeah,
whatever. It's pretty subtle.
is it? Yeah, see, and that's I've noticed that too. Like Texas bass, they're kind of the same way. They're kind of like paled out. You know, like they don't have much definition on those black lines and splotches. They're kind of just faded out and just kind of like a greenish color. You know.
Yeah, and like when I was down in Florida and the the Florida strain bass that I was catching, a lot of them are super dark, like
Yeah,
and don't have that distinct line. Um,
yeah, they're just their bodies are dark and then bellies are a little bit lighter.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, cause I'm trying to find this. Oh, here we go. But yeah, so like this is the fish that I caught on the Savage Gear, and like you can tell it has. If that'll focus, shit, maybe not. I don't know. Fuck, I don't. It's on my Instagram. But anyway, like it doesn't like it's mostly green. Like it doesn't have a super distinct lateral line.
Yeah. And like every now and then, some of our lakes still get like that, where they don't get that predominant, you know, blotch. Um, but for the most part, ours up here are super colorful, kind of like a smallmouth. And like some smallmouth you see like out of Dvorak, like the ones that Milliken catches and Joey. Like they're not that pretty of a smallmouth. You know, like they're giant and they look cool because they're just fucking huge. But like the splotches and stuff that we get in our lakes here, they're just unreal. The colorations and patterns on them are super distinct and like defined, you know. But some of them they're not. They're just paled out and just one color really. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, I need to work on a couple different patterns. It always just ends up getting to the point where I'm just like, well, I got this one dialed in. I'll just run the smallmouth pattern again, or no, we'll just do the gills again.
Yeah.
But guys like WT and BJ and Floyd, man, I let them run whatever they want. I don't even tell them what to paint. I'm like, whatever you feel like at the moment, send it. Like, doesn't matter to me.
Heck
Other
yeah,
than
dude.
WT, I do hold WT to that perch pretty hard. I think it's so sick.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like a good size too. That's like not an intimidating size for people to like start throwing.
No, yeah, not at all. And it's, dude, so the bait actually works almost for you. Like, you almost don't have to do anything. Like, sometimes it's the lightest input of the reel, and that thing's like, just darting back and forth like 3 feet. And it takes almost no effort, right? So, like my son, he goes out there within 30 minutes, he's got it figured out and dialed in on, chopping it to doing wider glides, just swimming along. So it's a super easy. It's not intimidating as far as size goes. So I like to call them a beginner bait, but some people like to think of beginner baits as like, production cheap baits. It's like, well, no, it's just easy to work. It's just not a hard bait.
I'm just kind of going off that, dude. So when I started like doing like swim bait fishing, I got some like some S Waver clones that I painted, and
Yep.
I was like, and like when I started fishing it, I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. Like this like works really great. And then I got some garage baits, like some garage glide baits, and I was like, holy smokes, that S Waver clone and probably just S Waver in general are trash. Like
Yeah.
if you're gonna have a beginner
Yeah.
bait, I would just do something completely different. I would spend more to get something better.
Yeah. And that's like when I first started fishing the TK, like the TK swims great too. It has really good action, but you can blow out a TK. So like when I started designing mine and like trying to tune it and get it dialed in, man, like trying to compare it to a TK or like the S Waver, I'm like, those things are like, dude, they do all kinds of random shit when you twitch them, but they catch fish all the time. Like they catch giants. So I'm like trying to tune mine so it stays, because that everybody likes perfectly, straight up and down, stable, swimming, vertically. So I was trying everything in my power to like get rid of every bit of body roll. I'm like, well, shit, dude, like the S Wavers and TKs roll, like it should be fine. And then we started tuning it down more, and we actually got 90% of that roll completely out. And then I started comparing it to S Wavers and shit. I'm like, I don't know if I could ever throw a Waver again. Like I used to throw a bunch of them when I first started after I got TKs and Toxics. I got the first one I got was the 200, and then I went down to the 168, and I'll never go back. I've thrown too many good baits out there where I'm just like, I'd rather spend the extra money and just get something that's just dialed in.
Yeah, exactly. And then for you guys, like, what are you guys working on right now? What's going to be your next drop?
Right now we're working on crawlers. It's gonna be the fire bellies.
Mm-hmm.
Fire belly crawlers. And then after that, so we got probably gills after that. You start, actually, no, I'm sorry, glides. Starting to go into that slower moving bait season. So
Mm-hmm.
glides tend to be fish more during the winter time in cooler water. So we'll probably do crawlers just because we have the batch already done, and then we'll go into glides. And then we'll probably hold glides up until beginning of spring, and then we'll start bringing out the crawlers and gills, and hopefully we actually do a squirrel drop sometime this winter too.
Yeah, that'll be really cool.
Yeah, just to get people prepared for spring.
Yeah, I don't know. There's like the dudes though, like up in the Northeast that catch crawler and wakebait fish like in winter or like right at ice out, and I don't get it.
Well, that's like our top water is done. Like we're over. Our season for top water is over. Like you every now and then, like once in a blue moon, you could probably pick one up off a wake. Like Dan, my buddy up here, he's actually up closer to like the Canadian border, and so obviously those lakes are much cooler than they are down here because we're only like an hour away from each other, but it's a big difference on temperature for our lakes. But he'll go out there and throw like the toxic mink or like the wade hog and just slow wake that thing as slow as he can possibly reel it. Sometimes he'll just dead stick it, and he gets 4s and 5s on him all the time during the winter. And it blows my fucking mind because I'm like, dude, I can't. As soon as the water temps hit like 53 and below, dude, like I'm out. Like I can't get a top water bite. So it blows my mind. Seeing guys back, you know, like Virginia and shit like that, catching winter fish off of wakes. I'm like, what? Sign me up, dude. Like I'm tired of slow dragging football jigs out here to catch anything.
Well, I think with what you guys are working on, with doing like a lipless swimmer and then having it wake and just like maybe just subsurface and like because that'll be a lot more subtle than like a build one. I think that'd be killer.
I think one thing we're gonna really try to do with that lipless wake, lipless wake, is and might maybe even for our slow sink swimmers too, is doing a tuning chamber, so you can either make it float or low sink or low float or slow sink or whatever you want to tune it to. Whether we supply the lead chunks or I don't know how we're going to do it yet, but it'd be cool to have them adjustable to where you can go throw it as a wake in the morning, and then now you need to subsurface for daytime. Throw a weight in there, get it to slow sink, and then become a swimmer. So that's an idea that we're gonna try to get going too, because having that kind of versatility is crucial, especially in this market now. It's like the baits aren't moving nearly as fast as they used to. They're not selling for what they used to, so it's like because for one, the economy sucks, so like we're all trying to pinch pennies to make do. So like spending $200 on a big 12-inch bait for only one purpose is like, I don't know if I want to do that, or if I can justify it. So if you can have multiple applications into one bait for one price, and it's like, dude, now you're expanding into the market of like everything, right? It's like this thing can do it all.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if, have like being versatile like that, where you can pull a pin, throw a weight into your chamber there, like throw, maybe a little tungsten weight or some split shot. Put that pin back in, and now you have a sink. Like.
Yep, nice, slow, and you can adjust it to however you want. Like some of our lakes get really deep, and like we're like winter time, for example, like we're about that 50, 60 foot. So of course I probably wouldn't tune a swimmer to get down that far. I'd probably throw soft baits, like a Citizen, or I like throwing those unique perches a lot. The unique swim baits. I love his soft baits, and he tailored a lot of his baits to the Northwest. He used to actually live up here in Washington, so. But I'll throw a soft bait down that deep before I throw a hard bait. So, but for the actual fishing season from basically spring till fall, having that versatility, man, that's crucial. Getting down deeper for those fish, or if they're eating off the surface, then hell yeah, take the weight out of the chamber and run it as a wake. So I thought that would be a really good idea, or cool idea at least.
No, I think so too. Well, and like so with that profile you guys are working with, kind of it's an ambiguous shape to where it could be a lot of different things. But with our trout out here, you see them cruising all the time, closer to the surface, just going.
Yeah. You see out here. 9 times out of 10, when you're out on the lake, you see fish right there at the surface. Those big trouts like that, right at the surface. So, and it's been kind of proven throughout the years too, with like the dead twitch trouts and stuff like that. Those big, just profile. Sometimes they just sit there on the top, and then they crank down just subsurface, and then they get smoked. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun one, dude. I think we're gonna have a lot of giants caught on that one once we get it going.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be like a dedicated deal though too, right? It's a pretty big profile, pretty big bait, so you're going to have the confidence going out there and throwing something like that. Just knowing like it's a big bait, you're only going for one type of fish with this bait. You're not going for any of the small ones of this anymore. So having that confidence is going to have to be crucial.
So so you got a 7 on the crawler, but like what are some PBs on your guys' baits?
Right now it's a 9.6 on our candy gill, and that was here in Washington from one of our local guys. And then our next one below that is the 8.7 on the crawler. So again, that was also here out of Washington too from one of our buddies.
Mm-hmm.
Our top 5 right now they're all above 7s. I think like 703, I think, is our bottom of the 5, and then it's like 742, 787, 870, 96. So and those were majority of them. 2 were candy gills, and the other 3 were on the crawler.
Heck yeah, dude, that's sweet.
Yeah, and like I know for sure obviously everybody's goal is always hitting the double-digit mark, right? Like whether you're just building baits or if you're just a bass fisherman, like the double digits always key, but it's also got to be a place where like double digits are pretty common. Like up here, like catching the double digit, like you see maybe one caught out of the state record. Our personal or our state record is 13 or something like that, and dude, that's gonna be a long time until that thing gets broken. That's just a massive fish for up here.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get there. I think we'll get a couple double digits at some point in the next couple of years, hopefully.
Yeah, I feel like when you're up here in like the northern states, once you break 5 pounds, like
Yep.
Yeah,
that's solid. Yeah, and that's like anything. I've always considered anything like 6 and plus is like true trophy fish up here. And like if you're cracking into the 8s and the 9s in this state, or like any of the northern states, like you're hooked into a fucking unicorn. Like those don't come easy and they don't come often. So,
mm-hmm.
And that's why like the last couple of weeks I've caught three 7-pounders in less than a month. So I'm like, I was just on a bite though. Like that lake was just fired up and going, but and they were not all of my baits. One of them was on a psycho trout, but yeah, they're big ass fish when they start breaking that in that northern strain. When they start breaking that 5 to 6 pound range, yeah, you got yourself a solid ass fish for up here.
Mm-hmm. For sure, dude. Well, shit, we've been going at this for like 2 hours. Kind of gotta wrap it up at this point.
Yeah, damn. I didn't even realize it was that long. That's what happens when you start talking fishing, dude.
Oh, for real. And I don't know, you guys got some cool stuff going on too, so it's good to talk to you about it.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, dude. Yeah, anytime someone wants to talk fishing, especially about our baits, I'm always in for that. So.
Yeah, heck yeah, dude. Well, why don't you let the people know where they can find you, like websites, socials?
Yep, yeah, so we're on Facebook. We have just a group page for it. I'm just like the main admin. So that's Sensei Swimbaits. Find it on Facebook and Instagram. Most of our posts go into the universe and on Instagram. I've been pretty lazy about posting it into our group page, but and it's senseiswimbaits.com. Any of our baits. Right now, everything's marked as sold out, but we'll do drop updates and whatnot on both Instagram and in the universe. That's like our main go-tos for notifying everybody. But...
Whoa!
Phone down.
Oh, man. Well, there we go. Like, Austin, thanks for coming on. This was super rad, dude.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on, man.